Today we're going to be talking about a handful of major cities on the West that are either seeing a correction or seeing the crash coming. All right, guys, and we are in transition. Our new studio is currently being under construction, getting built. So thanks for watching us. I know that the change is a little bit different, the sound is a little different, but thanks for bearing with us as we get that new studio built. So the first thing that we're going to jump into is this article from Bloomberg. It's an article about Opendoor. Opendoor is an iBuyer company. They came in and they would give you a cash offer, and then they would turn around and try to sell it. They would flip it. We're bringing this up because this article says in August, about 42% of the homes that were sold by Opendoor, 42% of those homes were sold at a loss. In a couple areas, it's actually even higher than that. For instance, this article says in Los Angeles, 55% of their sales were sold at a loss, and in Phoenix, 76% of the homes that they sold were at a loss. And what we'll see in this data is Phoenix is in a correction as we speak. More on that later. I'm going to jump over to this article from Yahoo Finance because I think it's very important as we're making our points through the end of this video. This article from Yahoo Finance said that 8% of home buyers were actually home flippers in the second quarter of this year, of 2022. 8%, a little bit over 8% of the homes nationwide, people were buying as home flippers. So they were buying it, rehabbing it, selling it. And if you've never flipped a house before, it can be as simple as 2 weeks. I mean, we just helped a client. They picked up a foreclosed house, turned around, rehabbed it in about 2 weeks. We helped them get the contracts lined up, rehabbed in 2 weeks. Others take 2 months, 3 months or more. Now we're through the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. And I think those home flippers that had maybe a bigger flip instead of a short fluff and puff flip, the more longer flips, they could still be sitting on their inventory, which we're going to see in these different markets from Los Angeles, Phoenix, Boise, Dallas, that these markets, our inventory is rising. 8% of those homes were home flippers. And to give you real numbers on that, so they are saying that roughly there was 860 homes sold in the U.S., but about 115,000 of those single family homes and condos were purchased for flip properties. And so again, we're going to see that data here in a little bit on how that's going to affect, how I believe that's affected our market of what we're currently in and why we're seeing an increase in inventory that's not matching up to the second quarter. So on top of that, if you guys didn't see this, we did a video about the new construction, and I'm going to briefly go into that right now. Because here in Idaho, I'm not using nationwide data, but this is for the Boise market. According to LandPro data, this article states that in Ada County, which is the greater part of the Treasure Valley, it says for the last 3 years, building permits have hovered around the 5,000 mark. So far this year, we're about 1,000 permits under that 5,000 mark. So there's a couple things that I want to bring up from this. One, there's 4,000 homes that are currently being built this year that are going to be inventory going into next year or going into the holidays. And we're going to see what the actual inventory numbers are for these different regions, but which means that there's going to be 4,000 more homes of inventory coming on the market. Now, again, somebody's probably going to be out there and saying, well, some of those are rentals. Some of those are people who are building something to turn around and rent. Yes, that's true. But a majority of those the single family and condo builders are going to be for resale purposes, spec homes or custom homes. And so we're going to see a huge amount of inventory coming on the market next year. But the other thing that it shows us is that the builders are feeling the pinch. They're feeling the pinch of having inventory from the permits that they pulled at the beginning of the year or even at the end of last year. They finished the homes and now they're sitting on this inventory and they're like, we got to sell it. And if you go back and you watch that video that we just posted, we show some homes that have had $200,000, $300,000 price reductions because these builders are trying to unload these houses. Anyways, with the more supply coming on the market and the less demand, which we'll get into a little bit later, that's going to create a huge, in my opinion, huge correction when you actually look at the numbers that we're getting ready to present here. With that being said, let's get into these, to the actual numbers. All right, guys, so Los Angeles, for instance, the inventory that they have on the market currently, that's the highest it's been since May of 2020. They have had the lowest sold units since, and I took out the seasonal thing. So keep in mind when we're looking at data, we're looking at seasonal trends. So every market, every real estate market has seasonal trends where some months will sell more houses than others. And so we removed the seasonal trends, but LA has had its lowest sold units in the month of September because we don't know October yet, in the month of September, the lowest sold units since 2011. So since 2011, again, we took out seasonal. Since 2011, this is the lowest sold units that they have had in the month of September, which if you guys followed the trends in real estate, the crash happened in 2007 and it continued on a downward turn, and then 2011, roughly 2011, was the bottom of the market, and that's when everything started climbing again. And so I think that's huge to pay attention to, that they have had the lowest sold units, the highest inventory since May of 2020. Again, we're gonna just keep watching this, see if the inventory is gonna continue rising, which on the trend, it shows that it's continue rising, but going into the holidays, maybe it won't. Let's jump into the Salt Lake area. In Salt Lake, the inventory that's currently on the market, they haven't had this much inventory since November of 2019. And the number of units sold, again, taking out seasonal, number of units sold, it hasn't been this low since February of 2011, which is huge, again, huge. So what this is telling us, and again, we still have two more that we're gonna look at, but what this is telling us is that inventory is continuing to climb, and obviously buyer demand is going down. If you remember the article, and I'll just bring it up again here from MBA Finance, where it talks about how the buyer purchase applications has dropped 38% year over year. That's one thing that shows buyer's demand. The other thing that's showing buyer demand is the home sales that are pending and sold, and our solds are way, way, way down. And even what we're seeing in our market, in the Boise market, which we're gonna get to here in a second, is buyers start getting, okay, I'm getting used to these interest rates. But then what happens, the Fed raises the rate, the buyers say, ooh, actually, I'm not ready to buy because I'm not ready to take on that new interest rate. And so we're seeing these where they get excited and then they stop. And so we're seeing, again, from the sold data, from the inventory data, that we are down in Salt Lake, Los Angeles, Dallas, and in Boise. So Boise's inventory has not been this high since December of 2019 of where it currently stands at. But the thing that's fascinating about this, again, we took away the seasonal trends, the lowest sold units, so single family and condo units, since 2012. In our market, normally the time that the home sales dip are January and February, because in November and December is when kind of home buying kind of slows down in our market, because we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got holidays and snow. So that kind of slows things down for us. Taking out the seasonal things, this is the lowest sold units that we've had since 2012. But here's what is very interesting to me. Phoenix. Now keep in mind, going back to that first article we read, Opendoor said they lost on 72% of their homes that they sold, they lost money on. In Phoenix, they have had inventory rising since February, and it's the highest it's been since 2019. But it's the lowest pending sales that they've had, and the data, the graph or the resource that I'm using, I can only go back 4 years, and it doesn't even come close to the 4-year trend. So it's the lowest pending sales in the last 4 years, but maybe even further based off the data that I'm seeing. But it's the lowest sold units since 2012, and 2011, and I didn't even have to take out the seasonal trends. It's just the lowest period since 2011. So what does this mean? What does this mean for you if you're a buyer? What does it mean for you, a seller, or an investor? Well, what this means for you is, I met with a YouTube subscriber yesterday, right? He subscribed to our channel, we met up, and we put together a game plan. And what I encourage him to do is get everything in line for when you're ready to jump on something, when an opportunity comes. Because you don't want that opportunity to come and you weren't prepared, so get things prepared. So if you're gonna finance, start talking to a lender and say, hey, okay, I want to accomplish this, what do I need to do to get that accomplished? If you're gonna buy cash, well then just get ready. If money's tied up in a CD, talked to another client the other day, she's like, how long should I put my money in a CD? Because I don't wanna put it in the market. Get prepared, because I do believe that if you're a buyer, opportunities are coming. We're seeing home prices continually drop. But if you're a seller, something to keep in mind, if you're a seller, you don't want to wait, especially in the Boise Treasure Valley market, you don't want to wait till those spec homes are on the market and you're competing with the current houses that are on the market. I mean, we've seen new construction homes that have been built for 3, 4, 5 months. We've even seen builders drop 10% in a matter of 3 weeks. So you don't want to be competing against those new homes, the new 4,000 homes that will be coming on the market here in the next year, and you don't want to be competing with the homes that are currently here combined, that's a lot of inventory. So if you're thinking about selling and you want to sell, it might be worth it to sell now rather than waiting until the spring, because the spring comes, if our market continues the way it's going and the feds continue to do what they're doing, then you're gonna have a lot more inventory to compete against. And so you might need to put it on now. All right, guys, and so what am I personally doing? I'm personally getting prepared because I do think there's opportunities. There are opportunities coming, and so we are preparing for the opportunities to come, and I want to encourage you to do the same. Keep in mind, if you're going to flip a house, right now we are not in the market to flip houses. If we're going to purchase something, it's to buy and hold, because on a downward trend, we can't predict the bottom, but we might be able to pick some things up on the way to the bottom and then write it up when that time comes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm encouraging you guys to do the same thing, especially if you're investing in real estate or if you're a family just looking for something. I would encourage you, get prepared, because opportunities are coming if they're not already here now. With that being said, thanks for watching. If you liked our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Again, we have a troll out there that likes just right now flagging our videos for whatever reason, whether they're upset because we're telling the truth about the market and they don't like it because maybe they're an agent and they're not getting as many sales. I don't know. So we just need your help. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.